everyone, and welcome to Canadian Football League Weekly, presented by the World of Football. Each week, we recap the games played up north in the CFL, and we also look ahead to next week's games. Our mission here is to educate American football fans on the teams, the players, and all that goes good in the CFL in the hopes that they will come to love the game and this league as much as we do. As you can tell, I'm flying solo this week. Dad's on a trip to Florida, probably enjoying some Blues Brothers music somewhere at Universal. So he'll be back next week to help round out the final week of the CFL season. But for right now, you got to deal with me, and we're going to recap the three games that happened in week 20 of CFL action. So let's just jump right on into it, everybody. Friday night saw the Calgary Stampeders travel to Hamilton to take on the Tiger Cats. In the first quarter, Bo Levi Mitchell connected with Tim White for a touchdown. Then soon after that, Mitchell threw a second touchdown pass to White, and Hamilton got that early 14-0 lead. In the second quarter, Mitchell threw his third touchdown pass to Giovanni Robinson, and then a fourth touchdown pass to Stephen Dunbar for a 27 Hamilton lead. With 24 seconds left in the first half, Calgary defensive back Trey Robertson intercepted a pass and returned it 65 yards for a touchdown, but Hamilton still led 30-9 going into halftime. In the third quarter, Calgary quarterback Matthew Schultz could not find an open receiver, so he ran it in himself from 15 yards out. A two-point conversion pass to Reggie Begelton made the score 33-17 in favor of Hamilton. But in the fourth quarter, Mitchell threw his fifth touchdown pass of the game and his second to Stephen Dunbar as Hamilton wins this game 42-20. Hamilton quarterback Bo Levi Mitchell completed 24 of 37 passes for 450 yards, 5 touchdowns, and an interception. Running back Greg Bell ran the ball 15 times for 139 yards. Wide receiver Stephen Dunbar had 7 catches for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. And wide receiver Tim White had 5 catches for 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. For Calgary, quarterback Matthew Schultz completed 12 of 24 passes for 124 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. He also ran the ball 7 times for 43 yards and had a rushing touchdown. Running back Dedrick Mills ran the ball 12 times for 76 yards, and wide receiver Markin Michel led the receivers with 3 catches for 46 yards. Yeah, this game, absolutely great for the Tiger Cats. They had nothing to play for, and neither did the Stampeders. But Bo Levi Mitchell surpassed 5,000 yards passing on the season for the third time in his 12-year CFL career. So that's pretty awesome. Congratulations to Bo. He leads the league in passing right now with 5,026 yards. The next closest, that'd be Winnipeg Zach Collaros, who only has 4,005 yards. That's pretty crazy when you think about that. Then for Hamilton, also, wide receiver Tim White surpassed 1,000 receiving yards this season. So another great season for him. I think that's the third time in a row, like the third season in a row for him. We talked about that on the podcast this week. Good for him. Tim White did absolutely awesome. And something else we mentioned on the podcast, but we'll obviously bring it up here too, is the Tiger Cats announced that the team will retire Garney Henley's number 26 at their 2025 home opener. Henley was a two-way player. He played wide receiver, halfback, and defensive back. And he played 16 seasons with the Ticats from 1960 to 1975. He won 4 Grey Cup titles, breaking several team records. It'll just be the third number ever to be retired by the team, which is pretty awesome when you think about it. So congratulations to him. Looking forward to that ceremony in 2025. On Saturday, saw the Ottawa Redblacks take on the Toronto Argonauts. In the second quarter, Toronto quarterback Chad Kelly completed a 29-yard touchdown pass to Dijon Brissett, and the Argos had a 21-0 lead. Kelly then connected with Mackay Polk on a 47-yard touchdown pass, making the score 28-0. Ottawa finally found the end zone when quarterback Drew Brown connected with Braylon Addison. The extra point was blocked, making the score 28-6 going into the half. In the third quarter, Kelly found Dijon Brissett again for his second receiving touchdown of the game, and Toronto extended their lead 38-6. In the fourth quarter, Braylon Addison caught his second touchdown pass of the game. Later, Nick Mardner also caught a touchdown pass, and Justin Hardy added another touchdown catch for Ottawa, but Toronto held on for the win, 38-31. Toronto quarterback Chad Kelly completed 21 of 26 passes for 331 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also ran the ball 10 times for 25 yards and had a rushing touchdown. Running back Kadeem Carey ran the ball 14 times for 55 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Mackay Polk had 3 catches for 104 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver DeMonte Coxey had 5 catches for 80 yards, and wide receiver Dijon Brissett had 5 catches for 67 yards and 2 touchdowns. For Ottawa, quarterback Drew Brown completed 31 of 43 passes for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. Wide receiver Khalil Pimpleton led the receivers with 7 catches for 114 yards. Wide receiver Justin Hardy had 7 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. And wide receiver Braylon Addison had 8 catches for 74 yards and 2 touchdowns. This game was for the home playoff spot. So Toronto gets the win. They get the home playoff game, and the rematch with Ottawa should be a lot of fun when they inevitably face off in the first round of the playoffs. The Argos had touchdowns on their first 4 possessions of the game. Obviously, they had that big lead, but Ottawa came out and outscored Toronto 25-0 in the fourth quarter, which is a little bit concerning for my Argos. They came within 7 points at the end of the game, and because Toronto led 38-6 going into that fourth quarter, and you don't want to see that. I mean, Toronto just seemed like they wanted it badly. I mean, clearly they got the home, the win and the home playoff game at the end of the day. But for a lot of this season, I had been saying that Ottawa was the second best team in the league. I don't know if that's so true anymore, but if Toronto's not careful, Ottawa could come in and play spoiler in that first round of the playoffs. Don't discount them. They're still a very good team. I'm very curious to see what they'll do. But Ottawa, though, has lost 5 straight games now, which is the concerning thing, but they still have that ability to win. They just haven't done it, and it's really hurt them. They could be the team hosting the playoff spot had it not been for those 5 straight losses. But, hey, when playoff time comes around, anything can happen, and this should be a great rematch when we get to that one in the first round. Also on Saturday, the Montreal Alouettes traveled to BC to take on the Lions. In the first quarter, Vernon Adams returned to start at quarterback for BC and led a drive that he would cap off with a 1-yard touchdown run to take the early 7-0 lead. Then later in the quarter, Adams would throw a beautiful 52-yard rainbow to Stanley Berryhill to go up 14-0. Late in the second quarter, trying to get their first score of the game, Alouettes quarterback Dominique Davis got absolutely destroyed on a quarterback run. The Owls would eventually turn the ball over on downs and then would go into halftime down 17-0. There would be no scoring till the end of the third quarter when Vernon Adams connected with Alexander Hollins on a 10-yard touchdown pass, Adams' second touchdown pass of the game, to help the Lions go up 24-0. In the fourth quarter, both teams would only manage a field goal apiece to end the game, and that would be a 27-3 win in favor of the BC Lions. British Columbia quarterback Vernon Adams completed 26 of his 36 passes for 385 yards and threw a pair of touchdowns as well as interceptions. He also ran the ball 5 times for 39 yards and scored a rushing touchdown. A trio of Lions receivers had good days as Keon Hatcher had 8 catches for 117 yards, Justin McInnis had 7 catches for 106 yards, and Stanley Berryhill III had 3 catches for 81 yards and a touchdown. For Montreal, quarterbacks Cody Fajardo and Davis Alexander split time during the game, both only managing to muster up 67 yards passing apiece for an offense that had no real standouts during this game. Yeah, look, this is Montreal's second road loss of the season. They came into the game with only 1 road loss, so that's a tough pill to swallow for the best team in the league to go into BC and just get absolutely manhandled. The Lions defense came to play, though. They made several stops at the goal line, in the red zone to prevent Montreal from getting a touchdown. They had to settle for that field goal in the fourth quarter. They had their opportunities, Montreal did, but BC was clearly a team that wanted this win real bad. Was Vernon Adams the shot in the arm this team needed? Hard to say. I like Nathan Rourke. I like what he can do, but Vernon Adams, while he kind of gives me that Jameis Winston vibe down in when he played with Tampa, he threw just as many touchdowns as he did interceptions. It does seem like for every awesome Vernon Adams pass and touchdown, he throws an ugly ball and an interception or turnover, and it's kind of what you get with him, but it was exciting. And was that the kind of shot in the arm that they needed going into the playoffs? Who knows? It'll be interesting to see who they eventually go with as their starter in the playoffs. BC obviously would love to host that. Not host the playoff game, but they would love to be in the Grey Cup game that's in their building. And I mean, I would have fun watching Vernon Adams playing, and I ain't gonna lie, I'd also like to see Nathan Rourke. I mean, I'd like to see any of these teams in that game, but hey, it is what it is. We'll see what they do. And then on bye this week, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Edmonton Elks, and Saskatchewan Roughriders. Now we're going to take a look at the standings after Week 20 in the CFL. In that East Division, the Montreal Alouettes sit at 12-4-1. They clearly clinched the division. The Toronto Argonauts clinched that home playoff game at 10-7. The Ottawa Redblacks sit at 8-1. And then the Hamilton Tiger Cats at 7-10. In the West Division, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers sit at 10-7. The Saskatchewan Roughriders at 9-7-1, and the BC Lions at 9-9. The Edmonton Elks and Stampeders both eliminated. The Elks at 6-11, and the Stampeders at 4-12-1. Your Week 21 matchups to end the regular season. The Hamilton Tiger Cats will go to Ottawa on Friday night, and also Friday, Toronto will travel to Edmonton. Then Saturday's doubleheader will see Winnipeg traveling to Montreal and Calgary going to Saskatchewan. And on bye this week, the British Columbia Lions. So, yeah, wild week in the CFL. We got a wild week coming up. I'm very excited to see how things shake out. We know how the games are going to be played in the East Division. That West Division, we don't even know who's won the division yet, who's going to host, and all that. Winnipeg's locked in a home playoff game no matter what. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of shakes out and develops there this week. Otherwise, no real big news that I stumbled upon other than stuff we've already covered. All I know is I'm very excited for the finale and the playoffs for the CFL. It's just getting good, and I'm very excited that we're going to keep covering this all the way to the Grey Cup game, which Dad and I will be at. And Dad will be back next week, everybody, so don't you worry. That'll be all for this week. Tune in again next week where Dad and I will review the games played in the Canadian Football League. We'll be doing this, like I said, all the way to the end there. And remember, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody loves more football than Dad and I here in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Until next time, I'm Adam Snow, and I'm sure I'll see you somewhere on the 55-yard line, and maybe Dad will be there to join us.